Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a gorgeous little tote bag. It is a tote bag with a difference. It's going to be big enough to fit my daughter's colouring book, and then in the front I'm going to have little sections where her colouring pencils can slot in nicely, keep her organised. We're going away at the weekend, so I thought this would be a really cute little project so she can take it with her and have a nice little colour on the aeroplane. The things you're going to need are your colouring book of choice. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, so this is going to be a custom design for you. So if you grab your colouring book of choice, we're going to use the measurements from your own book. You're going to obviously need a ruler, your scissors, your colouring pencils. I've got 2, 4, 6, 9 colouring pencils here. You can obviously adjust this according to how many colouring pencils you want to take. I've got a old t-shirt here, which I'm going to use as my lining fabric. I was about to recycle it, but I've decided I'm going to use it for my lining. And then I've got this spotted fabric. It's actually navy blue and white. The black will look lovely just as a lining. So the first thing you're going to need to do is measure your colouring book. This one is quite a square one, but that's absolutely fine. I recommend a centimetre seam allowance around the bottom and the sides, but the top I would give yourself an inch seam allowance. That means we can just do a really nice fold on the top. So I've already done that with these pieces of fabric here, and I've cut 2 of these squares. I would normally pin this to stitch, but I currently can't find my pins, so this will hopefully just go to show that even if you don't have all the things you might need, you can still come up with a really nice little project. I'm going to have a 13cm high pocket on the front of this, so I'm going to measure out a section around about 16cm in height and the same in width. So now we have got 2 pieces that are square, and we have our pocket piece. Doesn't matter about the side because that's going to be in our seam allowance. We are going to fold over the top of our rectangular piece a couple of centimetres to provide a really nice crisp top to our pocket. I'm going to iron mine down to make sure I've got a really lovely crisp line. Now we're going to grab our lining fabric. Now, as I previously said, I'm using a t-shirt. I'm all for recycling, and this was just going to go in the recycling, and then I thought actually I'll use it for this. So I'm just going to move all of this to the side, and I'm going to chop off the top of the shirt, just under the armpits. I'm literally just chopping off, and then I'm going to be using the fabric, so you don't need to be at all accurate with this. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to cut this along one of the seams. As I say, again, this part doesn't need to be neat. So I'm going to use the 2 pieces that we've cut out already as my pattern, and I'm going to have to lay it this way around. I think it's going to fit better. Yes. I'm going to cut out 2 pieces again, which are the same size as our top 2 pieces. All that jazz. Now we have our front pocket, our 2 spotty pieces and our 2 black pieces. I am now going to stitch down the top hem of the front pocket. I'm just going to do a simple running stitch. I've actually only got pink thread today. A navy thread would have been better, but I suppose it's going to give it a nice little contrast, hopefully. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just going to start on the edge, and I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch. I'm not going to go back on the stitch because these sides are going to be tucked in, so there's no point in doing that. Just a simple running stitch all the way along. Adjust my speed. And I tend not really to hold the fabric, I'm just letting the fabric run gently through my fingers. Okay, so I've got a beautiful seam here across the top of the fabric. Now we've done that, we're going to stitch this onto our front piece, making the channels for our pencils. So I'm hoping that you can see that clear enough. So that's our pocket on the front. Now what we need to do is get our pencils. A lot of pencils are different shapes and sizes. So we're going to get our pencils and we're going to give them a little measure. And we're going to just measure across. Now you have to bear in mind that these need to fit inside the pocket, so there's no good measuring exactly the width of the pencil. You want to double the width so that they form a nice pocket that you can slot them into. I've just popped 2 lines down the sides where my seam allowance is going to be. From there I'm going to take a measurement and I'm going to find the central point of the piece of fabric. So it's 13 centimetres is my central my centre. And from my centre I'm going to do a 1.5 centimetres line. So I'm going to actually line that up, line either side of my centre line for 1.5 centimetres, and that's going to be my first column. So from there I'm going to work out to either side. So I'm going to do 1.5 centimetres. Obviously now as we're stitching it on the front of what will be our bag, we're going to try and make the lines as neat as possible, and we are going to do a little back stitch at the top. You don't need to do a back stitch at the bottom because it's going to be tucked away and held securely with your other side. I'm going to start, it doesn't really matter which one you start at, but you're going to want to start just slightly above the pocket. Go down to where you've stitched, back stitch from there and then come back. Okay, so that's our first line. Don't worry about your threads, we can cut those off at the end. And keep going until you've sewn all your lines. Okay, so I'm just going to take one of my pencils and slot it inside just to double check it fits. I mean, it certainly should do. Yes, it certainly does, if you can see. Now we're going to trim off the little threads. Now we're going to join our back section to our front section. This is a little bit on the wonky side, I have to admit. This is what happens when you don't have pins. So you're going to have to forgive the wonkiness. There's nothing I can do about it. Front side to front side, we're going to stitch the 2 sides and the bottom. We're going to hem the top, but we can't do that now. We can use the iron to produce our hem to make it lovely and neat, but we can't stitch it down yet because we're going to stitch the lining inside. Okay, so I have ironed down the top pocket. Now I'm going to make the lining. So I'm just going to stitch the 2 pieces together exactly in the same way, a top, a bottom. I found my pins! I actually just ran out of thread. And I thought, and I found my pins, but I still can't find my thread. I'm going to try and reverse engineer. Haha! Okay, so now I have some thread. Oh, goodness. This thread is not going to last long. Now I'm going to iron this top flapper down as well. Okay, so now you have your front section, your lining. Now we're going to make the handles. You can make the handles as long and as wide as you like. We're just going to, really simple, rectangular long piece of fabric. We're going to turn it in on itself. We're going to stitch it along the top, and along the bottom, and then we're going to use that to push it in on itself, and then we're going to stitch it on. I'm not going to show you how to make the handles, we all know how to make that. So now we've got all the pieces, it is time to put this whole thing together. We are going to keep our lining piece the wrong way round, and we are going to fold out our lovely front piece until it's the right way round. And after ironing, you can use one of your pencils just to pop out the corners a bit more if necessary. I'm just going to trim off a bit more of the seam allowance on the lining, just to make sure it fits really nicely inside. Okay. Fold back down the top, and I'm going to pop this inside of the bag. It doesn't matter, there's no front or back. I'm going to pin this together. If you can hear some strange noises, it's my pug. She's chewing my chair. So the lining is now all pinned in, and I'm going to pin in the straps between the two layers. So I'm going to just sort of roughly gauge it. Probably about 1.5 inches in from either side. And then I'm going to pop that in the other side and pin that. So now we're just going to sew around the top to join the lining, the outside and the straps all together. I like to start from one of the edges. And we're going to need to take off this so that we can slip this over. And we're just going to trim off the excess threads, and all that remains to do is to slot our pencils in. And the last one, and you'll also find that because of the spacing you'll have room at the side, so you could perhaps put your ruler in there, or your scissors if you're at home, not recommended for an aircraft. But that is the tote bag. I hope you have enjoyed this video, I hope you give this a go. Do please let me know if you do, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching, bye!